What's up, y'all? Welcome back. This is Forgiving the Masculine. I'm Joanna Sullivan. Today, we're going to talk about our inner masculine and feminine. So, what is masculine? What is feminine? Let's look at it this way. Masculine is like the container, it's the structure, it's matter. Feminine is everything that goes inside of it, it's energy, it's limitless possibilities. Masculine, we can look at it as the mind, the bones, the parts of us that are measurable. The feminine is like the heart, the womb, the blood, the parts of us that are always moving and changing. There's something really powerful when you think about us as both masculine and feminine. And when you see the world as needing both, as well as our families, our homes. Let's say that there is 1% of matter in the universe. There might be less. There is 99% of mom in the home and like 1% of dad. When you have a zygote, a tiny little egg with an even tinier little sperm that goes into it, there's this joke about how men or the sperm, how they do 10 seconds of work and then the mom does the other however many hours of work that it takes to grow a human. I'm going to have to look that up. I don't have that number off the top of my head. But you hear what I'm saying, right? This much work gets this much accolade. And we need to go into a place where we look at it different, where we can see a more coherent picture, where we honor both sides of the coin because we need both and we are both. And arguably, the feminine right now is rising. There is an electricity behind the feminine power right now that is jolting women awake. However, we still see many people are struggling with loneliness and feelings of separateness. I recently saw a study. It's not about how many people you know, it's about how many close connections know you deeply. So, being known deeply by someone actually is the signpost of healthy social life. Not just knowing a lot of people, but allowing to be seen in a way where you feel really gotten and really met, like those close connections where you know that even in your imperfections, you're loved. How many of those people can you count in your life? And a lot of us really struggle with this feeling of being authentic because, on the one hand, being authentic comes at a cost of potentially losing some of the people that don't get us, right? They don't quite click. But then also it opens us up to the field where then we can be known in a deeper way and we can be met in a way where we can open ourselves up to that unconditional love and acceptance. And how many of us really apply that theory to ourselves? Like forgiveness for ourselves in the times when we felt like we made mistakes or we acted harshly. Like that self-love, it reclaims your energy. It calls back all of the scattered energy that you've placed outside of yourself. And it's not a surprise that we've been taught to put so much attention outside of ourselves. Because if you look at how to control a massive population, placing their attention outside on sports and politics and your partner, your husband, your relationships, your children, placing that attention outside of you actually throws off your inner compass. It is so much harder to control people who are sovereign and autonomous, who are connected deeply to their intuition and to their hearts, than it is to control people who are distracted all the time by what's happening outside of them. This is changing. We are waking up right now. This jolt of electricity that is just charging through our societies right now. I mean, how exciting is it to be alive in a time that our civilization hasn't seen for thousands of years, maybe tens of thousands of years, or maybe ever? We don't know if it ever has happened before, because if it has, that information has been lost. That's a topic for another time. But I'm super curious to find out what would happen if, instead of men versus women, masculine versus feminine, if we merge both and hold both. There's this concept in quantum physics that as soon as you observe something, the thing you observe changes. And when we change the way that we look at the past, it can change the way that our future will happen to us. I mean, really think about that. Your vibe is what attracts the things that happen to you. So if you really leaned into this idea that the past was an opportunity, the challenges, the hurt, the pain, the problems, they were all opportunities for us to grow, like post-traumatic growth, you know? We've been hurt, and a lot of women have been hurt by the masculine. A lot of women have been hurt by men. That is undeniable. A lot of men have been hurt by men and by the patriarchy. And that hurt, that harm, absolutely has brought us to a point where now we are evolving. We have gotten as far as we can on that spectrum. The pendulum has swung so far to one side that it's now swinging back. And as we swing back, as we take this new paradigm of combining both masculine and feminine, what is possible? There's a lot of manifestation talk out there that talks about visualizing the future in order to create whatever it is that you'd like in your reality. If only it was that simple, right? Just imagine something and poof, there it is. That's actually not the whole truth. And what we are doing in that sense is we are leaning into only the mind. When you sink down into the heart and even deeper into the womb, those are the vessels of creation. And what the heart and the womb are asking us to do is to tend to the root to bear the fruit. I can point to so many times where walking away from my husband and walking away from our marriage would have been logical. It would have been even warranted. And that would have created a ripple out into my daughter and into our community, into the world, that isn't fair. It isn't a whole picture because it just takes what happened. It denies the opportunity to grow from it. We will never grow from these things if we don't take accountability and also acceptance and also forgiveness. And all of these happen lower than the logical brain. Part of what our society loves so much about the masculine is it's very data driven, right? Like very logical. You can look at the logical facts and you can deduct mathematically, this is the probability or this is the outcome. What the feminine then comes in as is like this dynamic, expressive energy that isn't measurable or quantitative. It's qualitative. It's the quality of the interactions. Was I being the best version of myself in those times that my husband was acting like the worst version of himself? Was I acting like the best version of myself? Definitely not. Definitely not. I look back at some of the ways that I was, and yeah, I can definitely see how I contributed to his manic episodes. You know, there's a saying that says change happens at the speed of safety. I was not feeling safe in those situations. Arguably, it is the man's job to protect his wife's safety. And that was not happening in our home. And my actions now are rewriting the story. I am rewriting the story now because I am choosing to be the better version of myself that I wanted to be then. I am being that now. I'm leaning into warmth, to acceptance and forgiveness. It's not always easy because my body remembers that feeling of being unsafe. Recently, my cousin came to town and visited, and he just got married and was asking me how can he be a good husband when they expect their little one. And he asked me, he said, what can I do to be the best partner, husband, when we have a baby? My answer was protect her peace at all costs. When women are pregnant and then have a child, this brings up the biggest identity ego death or initiation, transformation that you'll have in your entire life. And what I can't stress enough, and what I see as being the single most important thing that a husband can do, is to remain the wall, the retaining wall, and let them be the ocean. Let their emotions and their actions and their feelings crash against your wall and be that rock for her. Men also have things that are triggered, that are brought up about their own childhood after having a baby, about what it means to be a dad, about how their dad fathered them. And I think it sends a lot of men also into the ocean role. And that definitely happened in our home. A lot of times I had to be the wall and the ocean. And it leads to a lot of resentment in families. There's a lot of ways that in the early years can also have their emotions and their needs met and be that swirling chaos. But it needs to come from somebody other than their wife most of the time, right? We can hold that wall container, but being the container and the ocean is exhausting for so many moms. So many moms holding together the home, the schedule, the emotional labor, the physical labor, all of the details and all of the emotions. Being the container and everything that fills it is just a complete exhausting game for moms as they're also trying to navigate this new identity of what motherhood is. And fatherhood pretty much happens in the instant that the child is born for men, although it does change over time from baby to toddler to school age and beyond. But there is so much strength that comes from a family when a woman is allowed to be her most dynamic, churning, changing self, and the partner gets to just be the wall and be steady and hold that peace as the most precious part of their new family. And I don't know if that concept or that understanding has really ever been emphasized. And it's something that I think can bring a lot of clarity when men know their role as new parents, because there's so much that comes with being a mom. But what I think a lot of men think that finding the safest baby equipment or taking the car to get the oil changed, I don't know, creating a safe house physically. These are the ways that I think men lean into, which are data driven and logical ways to protect the safety of the house. But having a deeper understanding of the vibe of the home and the energy of your wife, and being so confident in yourself that knowing that her churning energy and emotions is not direct reflection of their character. It is not a criticism to them. There's this sense that if a man gets criticized, they can't do anything right, or they sense that they're not good enough. It can trigger these core wounds. I know it did in my husband. And he was very careful not to stir my pot or to make mistakes. But in the same tone, he actually ended up hurting me so much more by tiptoeing around me rather than just being steady and being consistent. So we are in this process of going to the root of finding our balance and finding coherence in the home that comes not from logic or data points, but it comes from something much deeper, from our hearts, from our bellies, from our wombs, this part of acceptance where we are as wide and deep and as changeable and mutable as the ocean. And we know that without the shore or without the wall, the ocean has no form. And so we're calling in this sense of both form and energy. Let this ripple out into your life. Please let me know, comment if this touches something in you, if this reminds you of your own situation in your own life. I really appreciate you being here on this journey and following along. Appreciate you sharing, liking, and subscribing. It helps me more than you'll ever know. And I send you so much love and so much compassion on this journey as we find our way back to both feminine and masculine merging as one. Much love. See you next time.